Hello everybody, and welcome to our webinar today on how to sell more with video. We're going to be sharing with you some key information as to why video has become highly effective in online marketing and the ways in which you can use it to help increase business for your organisation by bringing more leads to your company and converting those leads through structured video content. In today's fast-moving digital world, the challenge of online and digital marketing can become very daunting. The aim of this LeadCubes webinar is to simplify the process and make practical, executable strategies that can help you to grow your business. Just to get us going, let me introduce your presenters today. There'll be Kevin Butler from Alchemy Online, myself, Karen Pavlovska from Take One TV, and Barry Saunders from Eurocom Research. The three of us are independent companies, but we also work together in a partnership called LeadCubes, which is hosting today's webinar. And we've set ourselves up especially to help small and medium-sized businesses improve their online and digital marketing. And just in case you're not familiar with webinars, this can be an interactive medium. So if you have any questions that come up as we go along, then just go to the chat box and we'll answer them at the end. There's going to be a lot of information in this webinar, so if you miss any of your questions during the main presentations, please bear with us. We will have a general Q&A session at the end where we'll review the main points of the webinar and answer any remaining questions. So we're going to talk today about why video is so effective and why you should be using video in your online marketing, especially for lead generation. Kevin will cover the types of video out there and how they can be publicised and put in front of people. I will share some trade secrets about how to create video that will increase sales, how to structure the content, and if you're doing the video yourself, how to prepare a compelling script and present to camera in a way that will engage with your audience. Barry will then take us on to talk about the importance of measuring and managing your results, the use of sequential marketing, checking that the video is doing what you want it to do, managing the data that you get back from your video, and looking briefly at split testing to check for the best results patterns. After all, there's no point in making a great video if you don't know how to measure the results. Then we'll close with a general Q&A session. So overall, we're going to take about an hour of your time today to talk about how to get more sales using video. So let's get started. It's traditional in webinars for presenters to explain briefly who they are and what they do, but we're going to do things a little differently and we've decided to introduce each other. So our first presenter is going to be Kevin Butler, who is a company director at Alchemy Online. He's been doing digital marketing for over 10 years now, helping small and medium-sized businesses and a few larger ones on individual projects to improve their digital marketing. Alchemy Online are practitioners, so it's not about the statistics. They like to walk the talk, and they have their own e-commerce sites selling on the web and on Amazon, which gives them up-to-date practical knowledge that can really make a big difference to the success of your digital campaigns. So I guess the big question now is why use video at all? So over to you, Kevin.
In my section, I'm going to be covering three main areas. I'm going to explain why we should be using video. I'm going to show you how to build a high-converting sales funnel using video. And I'm going to show some examples of types of video and where you should be using them. First, let's look at why video works. Video is very effective and efficient at conveying information. There's a lovely quote I found. It says, "If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a video is priceless." But in researching this topic, I did find this quote from Dr. James McQuivey of Forrester Research. He says that a minute of video is worth 1.8 million words. The message really here is that video is very good at conveying information, and more these days people are expecting to receive and consume information using video. I guess the main culprit of this is YouTube. YouTube's now 10 years old. And people expect and go to YouTube for information, and YouTube is changing the way marketing works as well as changing the way entertainment works. Quote here that everybody's watching videos. In fact, 55% of people watch videos every day. It's just a huge volume of information that's being put up on YouTube and similar channels. 4 billion videos are being watched every day on YouTube. 800 million visitors per month are visiting YouTube. 3 billion hours. These figures are amazing. People are now expecting and have been almost trained to expect to receive information via video. And if you're not using video in your business, then you're losing out. Here are a few more marketing statistics that emphasize the point. Website visitors are 64% more likely to buy a product on an online store after watching a video. Digital Sherpa is the source. They also say that videos increase people's understanding of product by at least 74%. Click-through rates increase 2 to 3 times when you put a video in an email. Your website is 50 times more likely to appear on the first page of the search engines if it includes video. We have a lot more of these statistics, and they're available if you go to leadcubes.com/handouts. The cost of producing, hosting and distributing videos has plummeted, such that now there are many services where you can host videos for virtually nothing and other services where you can easily distribute them to a large audience. However, the main problems these days is that of attention. People are using social media, they're engaged, they're watching Facebook, they're looking at Twitter, they're engaging on various other social media platforms. The main objective with video is to grab their attention and to move them to somewhere where you can present more information to them, and move them to somewhere where you can have their undivided attention for a longer period of time. Now let's look at a sales funnel. As we go through it, we'll look at where video can help. First, we start with an advert. This gets people's attention and brings them through to a squeeze page where we present them some information. The sole purpose of a squeeze page is to offer people information they think are of value in return for them disclosing some information about themselves. This is called an ethical bribe. So that offer may be a free ebook, a download, a free webinar, or some other gift. They fill in an opt-in form in which they provide their name and usually their email address, which is then stored on a database which marketers call a list. That allows you then to communicate with them in a series of follow-up emails so you can give them further information about your product, your brand, or your service. At the end of this sequence is an objective, which is your call to action, which is either to get them to a meeting with you, for them to call you, or to visit your website, or similar action. This last section is controlled by what's called an autoresponder. This is a software program that will automatically send out an email sequence to people on a scheduled rota. Now, video is very effective in a number of stages of this sales funnel. At the front end, you can put up a simple attractor video, which is used as an advertisement, which brings people to the squeeze page. Later, you can use video on the squeeze page, and the use of video will improve the conversion rate of that squeeze page. The main purpose here is to bring visitors, which marketers call traffic, to a squeeze page. So let's look at some of the sources of traffic that we can get visitors onto that squeeze page. There are a whole range, and we'll cover one or two in depth, but mainly from paid advertising, which can be banners on websites, pay-per-click on Google, paid adverts in places like Facebook and LinkedIn. You can use email campaigns, send out text emails, video emails, but that assumes that you have a list to start with, and you can go to a list broker and buy lists. Personal invitations work, so word of mouth, networking groups, etc. Or you can go to social media and use places like posting on blogs, on forums, on Facebook. Another means is to optimize using search engine optimization your website so that it appears high in the search engine rankings when people are searching on the topics that are relevant to your brand or to your product. And there are a whole range of other areas you can go to called Web 2 properties. You may have heard of a few of these: Blogger, Reddit, Squidoo, etc. And you shouldn't forget that there are still life in the more old-fashioned means of communicating with people, such as newspapers, radios, leaflet drops, etc. The key here is to put on a website address so that you then move people from the piece of paper they've received, so they go to a website and look at your squeeze page. And in addition, you can use adverts on YouTube and video ads, and these are particularly effective because they are very, very inexpensive at the moment. So the main steps you need to do at this stage are to create an informational video, which you can then post on places like social media, Facebook, blogs, websites, etc., to act as an attractor to bring people to your squeeze page. And this can be supplemented by using video ads, which are very effective in bringing people from YouTube and places like Facebook to your squeeze page. There is a subject which we will cover in a following webinar called retargeting, which is very spooky, where the ads, once you've created them, follow you around the internet and present them when people are not expecting them, and it reinforces your message, even though they've moved away from where you originally encountered you. Now let's look at how we build a squeeze page. The obvious thing about a squeeze page you'll notice is that it has very little information on it. The normal navigation is reduced to minimum, and you have a very bold headline which attracts people's attention. You have a list of benefits and then a call to action, and people are constrained just to take one action, the one you want. Let's look at a few types of videos and how we can use them. You may have seen a number of these already. Even TV adverts are starting to use them. Cartoon-like videos, which are called whiteboard videos, are very engaging and keeps people's attention. Explainer videos use cartoons to do the same effect. Also, typography, where you see the words moving around the screen, have the same effect and are highly converting and very engaging. To get more brand recognition or get more personal engagement, face-to-camera videos are very effective. If you don't want to appear on camera, there's no reason why you shouldn't use a PowerPoint presentation that is recorded to get your message across, where you're doing a voiceover or perhaps engaging an actor to do the voiceover. And where you have very technical information, maybe a digital product where people want to see how the digital product works, screen recording videos come into their own. So let's look at a few examples, and you can see more of these on our website at leadcubes.com, where you can see the actual animations. We have two examples here of whiteboard videos where the information is drawn by hand in front of you. We have an animated video of Bob, who's explaining the benefits of his product or service. Next, we have a typography video, and finally a face-to-camera video. So as you can see, there are a range of videos for different circumstances. And the perfect person to explain more about when and how to create these videos is Karen Pavlovska, who has been working as a media consultant specializing in the creation and use of video for businesses in their sales and marketing strategies for many years. Karen is a founding director of Take One TV and works with many high street companies such as BSkyB, GSK and Slush Puppy, as well as helping many smaller UK businesses that are realizing the value of video as a part of their digital marketing strategy through ongoing media packages.
Thank you, Kevin. That was really interesting. So now we've heard a bit about how we could get people to your website to see your video. Let's have a look at how that video needs to be put together in order to increase your sales. Having a video on the internet is like having your office or your shop open 24/7, and people will come through that door at all sorts of times of the day and night, and it's really important that what they see gives the best possible impression. It's like having a personal meeting with a potential client. One of the best ways of doing this is to use an attractive video format, which is generally speaking a 60-second piece to camera given by a manager of the company or someone who's an expert in their field. And you're not trying to sell to them at this point, you're actually just introducing yourself as if you're talking one person to someone else, your viewers online. It's important that you talk directly to them online. And as the business owner, you have a reason for feeling passionate about what you do, and you need to share that in your video. Talk about something unique and the benefits that you would offer to the viewers if they were to engage with you. You then need to think about the content that you're going to put into your video. Think about why the viewer should buy from you. If you were a plumber, there are lots of plumbers out there, so why does somebody choose one person over another? So thinking about your own business, why would somebody choose to buy from you? As I said before, don't make this a selling thing. It's about what you offer that gives benefit, the difference you would make by somebody engaging to work with you. And you need to do that in a way that they understand the difference you could make. So there's no point in saying something like, well, we make good videos. You have to tell them why your good videos make a difference. And that content is really important. Try not to do more than 3 key points in your video. You've got 60 seconds, and 60 seconds can be either very short or very long, depending on how well it's put together. People will, however, only remember 3 key things, so keep to those 3 key points and give consideration to them. Do remember to include a call to action though, because you do want people to contact you afterwards, and if they're watching your video, they are actually interested in what you're talking about. And assuming that your video is on your website, they may actually have found it on YouTube and not be on your website yet. So do include your details so they can get hold of you easily. And if you can put a special offer or some sort of guarantee into the video, that will also help to just add that little extra push so that they're likely to take an action there and then rather than think about it. The next thing to consider is the script that you use. It's very tempting to say, well, I'll do this off the cuff because I present to lots of people all the time. I present at meetings and seminars, or I go to present to potential clients. But when you're doing it on video, you don't have the same kind of feeling as you do when you're doing something to a live audience. So it's important that you write your words down. And then once you've written your words down, I suggest you record it, maybe using your mobile phone, so that you can listen back and see how it sounds to somebody who might be watching you. You'll probably find that it doesn't sound quite the way you thought it sounded, and you'll need to go back and make some changes to it and probably make it sound more like a conversation than a written piece. Rewrite it from your spoken words, and those spoken words will be the ones that you'll use when you do your presentation. Then think about the timing of your script. When you do your words, you need to think that 3 words equal around 1 second. But you don't need to fill all of the space in your 60 seconds. You need a bit of air time around you so people have time to look at what you're showing them, if you've got some graphics in there, or to actually just take on board what it is that you're saying. A good thing to remember is to try and use shortened language where you can, what is natural in the way you speak. So instead of saying, I would like to have a sandwich for my lunch, you'd say, I'd like to have a sandwich for my lunch. And you'd use the I'd instead of I would like to. And that makes it much more conversational. And you don't need to be grammatically correct with things. That's for brochures and for printed materials. When we speak, we don't speak in sentences. And we often say things in spoken language which really doesn't look right, but it's how you speak to people. Then you need to look at the appearance of how you're going to appear on camera. The camera is your audience, so sometimes people put a photograph above the camera lens so that they can imagine somebody they're talking to, even just a smiley face, because it might actually make you smile a little bit more. Do consider also using a teleprompting device rather than learning your words off rote, because although you can learn the words, you will find as you're delivering to camera that there is an extra amount of pressure to get those words out, and just having a teleprompting device there with the words on it will help you to relax a little bit more. You can download some fairly cheap software that can be used on your iPhone or on a tablet, and it just puts the words in and you can control the speed at which those words appear, and that will take the pressure off you having to remember what the next thing is. And it really is worth considering that. We use that pretty well every time that we do pieces to camera for our clients, and it makes a big difference. Do have in your mind a clear beginning, middle and end. It's just the main points, so not the exact words, but the main points, so that you can take the rest from the auto cue and concentrate on how you're appearing on camera. The message doesn't have to be exactly as you've written it, because you might well say it slightly differently, but as long as you've got in your mind the beginning, middle and end, you'll find it'll work. The other thing that we get asked a lot is, what should I wear on camera? And we always say to people, well, you're promoting yourself to potential clients. How would you normally dress when you go to meet those potential clients? Would you be formal or would you be casual? And that's really up to you to decide how you want to come across. Most people tend to go for kind of smart casual these days, unless they're perhaps promoting gym membership, and then they might look slightly different. But whatever you would normally feel comfortable with when you're meeting a new client. Colours are important though in what you wear. If you're doing something on a green screen where you can cut another image behind you to put you in a different setting, then you obviously don't want to wear anything that's got green in it where possible. The technology is quite clever these days, but if you can avoid green it will be quite helpful. But also strong colours such as a strong red, plain red or a strong black don't come over terribly well on the television screen. Black in particular can really drain the colour from your face and make you look a bit sort of pale, and red can actually make you look quite hot because the red reflects up onto the skin. Television technology doesn't take that colour terribly well, so try and stick to pastel colours, something sort of softish, and certainly avoid anything with fine patterns, fine stripes or fine checks, because these will tend to bounce about on the screen when people are watching your video and it distracts them, and then they might miss some really important bit of information that you're trying to give to them. Do remember to smile and try to relax. If you smile, you will appear more confident, even if you're not feeling that confident actually. But it makes a huge difference to how you come across. Your whole voice changes when you smile. A little tip to this is try practicing in front of a mirror so that you get used to how you look and how your face feels when you're smiling and talking. And that will help it feel a little bit more natural when you're doing it on camera. The other thing also, I suppose, is to remember to breathe. People often forget to breathe as they're going along, particularly in 60 seconds. And that breathing, remember to breathe between paragraphs, will actually help you to smile and to appear more relaxed. So consolidating your key messages is really important. Make sure there's no more than 3 points, specific things that you want people to remember that are important and unique to your product or service that you're trying to talk about. Write, record and listen to your scripted words so that you are having a conversation rather than reading something. That's really key to making it something that people will engage with. Then speak directly to your audience in a clear language. Don't try and do things in third person. Make sure you're speaking as if you were having that conversation with somebody face to face, and steer away from too much technical language, because unless you're into a detailed learning piece, people really just want to get a simple message across, and that will be much more powerful and effective for you. Don't try to sell in your first piece of video if you can help it. You're really just trying to share some genuine information and to make an introduction. It's a bit like having your office or your shop door open and people are just poking their nose in just to see, what are you like? Who are you? Do I like the look of what you say and do? And it's just making that little bit of engagement. So selling comes later. Also, of course, finally, enjoy the moment, because if the audience is watching your video, they've chosen to click on it. They want to see and hear what you've got to say. So enjoy that one little moment and try to remember that they want to hear what you've got to say. So that's really the end of my presentation now. I hope you found that interesting and got some useful information out of it. We're now going to go over to Barry Saunders for the final presentation. And Barry Saunders is a director of Eurocom Research Limited. He's got lots of letters after his name, most of which I don't know what they mean, but I know it's something quite technical. And one of them is that he's a Bachelor of Science. He's actually a great technologist who has a way of making the technology work for small businesses and large businesses. He's particularly working on database systems at the moment and client-facing sales and marketing engines so that clients can use the automated processes to help drive customers to their products and services. He really likes to help companies work out what technology works best for their businesses and how to put that into action for them. He's been a technical director of Eurocom Research since 1994 when he established the company, but he's been in the industry for over 20 years, and what Barry doesn't know about software and technical stuff probably isn't worth knowing. So over to you, Barry.
Okay, thank you, Karen, for that introduction. As Karen said, my name's Barry Saunders from Eurocom Research. Welcome to this final section. We're going to go through continuing with the theme of why you need to use more video in your marketing. We're going to be digging a little bit deeper into some of the detail and the structure around how you set things up and the process that you need to use. I'll try and keep it jargon free. So basically, we're going to go through that now. If you do have any questions, please put them into the question box, and we'll try and get to them as soon as we can to get you an answer. And at the end, we'll try and have a Q&A to try and cover most of the questions. So what we're going to talk about is some sequential marketing, which is essentially a process. We're going to cover the importance of measuring what it is you're doing. And we're going to look at a little bit of analytics data to understand the sort of information that comes back from the measurement process. And finally, we're going to have a little bit of a look at some split testing. I'll explain a bit more about that later, but it's how to basically improve the quality of your content. So first of all, we'll kick off with sequential marketing. This is really about having a sales process. It's the ability to convert a prospect into a dedicated client of yours. And the best way to do this always is to maximize the automation of the processes that occur to do this. So we're going to also cover some measurement. Basically, measurement is about testing your hypothesis. The existing structure that you have is your best guess at how these people are going to become your clients. By measuring it, you're testing your hypothesis as to whether that's true or not, and then making changes to improve it. That's why the measurement is so important. So sequential marketing with the LeadCube system is really about passing leads step by step. This is not just about having a video. You actually need to make sure that the prospects are passed down the sales funnel to you so that they can actually see the video at the end of it. As each prospect goes down the sales funnel, they become more qualified towards your content. Each decision point, they will either become more qualified and go closer to you, or they may leave altogether. Now, this is where automation comes in, because although there is a decision at that point, they can either become more qualified to you or leave. When you run multiple campaigns, they may actually be entering a second campaign of yours as well. So that's the importance of running multiple campaigns. You don't necessarily lose prospects as they decide to opt out of the route they're currently going down. They may decide to opt into a different route that's more appropriate for them. As the clients go down your sales funnel, they become more qualified to your actual video content, which is the nature of what it is you're trying to present to them. When we look at measurement, the things we're trying to determine are the route to the page. So basically the path they went through to get to the page where the video is deployed. You may have one landing page, you may have 20 landing pages, but unless you know which one it is, you won't know which is the best way to get them to your video. So that's why you need to monitor it. Now, you can actually monitor a vast array of items during the course of this. Obviously, the hits to the page where the video is deployed, that's quite easy to measure, but you can actually go quite close in. You can even measure hits to play. You can actually go further and measure actions, so stop, pause, or skip. So you can actually determine whether or not they're watching it in one session or stopping and starting it. Obviously, you need to measure the call to action, which is effectively a link that you might present at the end of the video. So did they click on the call to action? You can actually then see that they viewed it and that they clicked on it. And then you can look to see if they registered, which is by entering their details as a result of having carried through to the end of the actual content. So this is what the sales funnel looks like as a diagram. Effectively, the wide end is the traffic on the internet. So when you first start with your video, you're effectively appealing to completely unknown people. They may come to your site through SEO or AdWords or some other form of link to your site. But at this point, you have no idea who they are. And you're simply playing, Karen pointed out, introduction videos to get people qualified to your products and services. As they go a little deeper into the funnel, they effectively may return. So you can actually monitor potential returns of the same person to your site. Finally, they've decided to commit and they enter their details on a squeeze page. This is essentially a page that captures the email information, the name, possibly the company information, possibly a mobile contact number, so you know then who the people are. So from that point, you then have a record of who they are and you can identify them returning. You then also may offer additional content, so a specific piece of content or a premium content where people opt into it. This is reaffirming that your client is becoming more qualified to you because they are now subscribing for additional items as they go through the sales funnel. Then you can also, as you have their email details, email out to them direct linked hosted videos. So you could point them to a specific video that you have hosted. You could point to something on YouTube. You could point it to any multiple of places. But the important point here is that you will know when they come back to that video because they will have a link to that video. So you can identify them uniquely. And then finally, we end up with a highly interactive session such as this, where we're in a webinar at the moment where we have live video and audio streaming. That is when you get closer to the clients that you need to speak to. So we're just going to take a quick look at some video analytics. This is something, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. This is essentially how you would look at the data that you've collected and try and understand some of it. So in here, we've got some events tracked. I mentioned you can track the play, the stop, the forward, the pause. We've got these as recorded events so that you can actually see what's happened on the page when someone has arrived at it. Now, analytics are not necessarily good at telling you absolute events, but they are very good at telling you relative things. So what we're comparing things to is the number of hits to the actual page. So we know that 54% of the people that arrived at the page actually pushed the play button. That's probably debatable as to whether that is a sufficiently high number, but probably what's more worrying is some 22% down from that decided to push the stop button. We don't know, because we're not tracking the time through the video, we don't actually know where they pushed the stop button, but it might be useful to be able to set up a timer in there so that we can find out whether they're all stopping at the same point or not. In that instance, we may decide that the content needs improving or optimizing so that we can work out why they don't watch to the end, essentially. The objective is to make someone watch the video all the way through. You can track almost any event on the page. You can even track mouse movements if you need to work out where people are putting the mouse. So it really depends on the page that you're trying to set up. But here, obviously, we're interested in specific events associated with the video player. Interesting point on analytics. You may have heard the term bounce rate. This is effectively the number of people that have left the page after only one interaction with it. Now, by definition, using video players on a page is most likely to take someone to the press of the play button to be able to see what the video is. Now, that effectively reduces your bounce rate because they are having an interaction with the page on top of actually arriving at the page. So it's useful to realize in the analytics why video actually is helping you to improve your bounce rate to your pages. This display here is just showing really something that Google can do for you. There's something called Google Experiments, which allows you to show two parallel promotions side by side. I'll come into a bit more detail with this in a minute. But effectively, if you're offering two videos, you can compare them side by side on a graph such as this using Google Experiments. And this will actually allow you to see over a period of time which of the two videos is producing the best results. This particular example here is only over a period of about 5 days. There wouldn't really be sufficient data to make a decision on that. This is really just showing you what it looks like when you compare the two. So you may decide to do the experiment over a number of weeks so that you can actually try and accumulate a reasonable sample of data so that you can actually compare them like for like. So going a bit further into comparing things side by side, I'm now going to explain split testing. Now, split testing or A/B testing is where you, as I said before, put two pieces of video side by side. What happens here is you're going to try and work out which of the two videos you have is producing the best results. So what you do is you configure the page such that one video is shown 50% of the time and the other video is shown the other 50% of the time. Don't forget, you can also, while you're doing this, experiment with the content around the video. So for example, in the first case, video A, I've said that the offer ends on the 2nd of September. On video B, it's a limited time offer. You can change the way the page and the video itself is presented. So over time, as each person arrives at the site, half of them will see video A and half of them will see video B. And as they both have the same basic message, it's not actually interfering with your advertising, but over a period of time using Google Experiments, you will be able to prove which video, A or B, is providing you with the best call to action result. So effectively, you will know over a period of weeks, depending on the number of hits that you actually have, you will be able to see that say, for example, people having an offer ending on the 2nd of September with that content gives you better results. And the results are effectively presented as I showed them before in the previous slide, where you have two graphs side by side. And there tends to be a winner of those two events. Now, obviously, with that information, you know, video A, for example, was the better of the two. You don't need to show video B anymore. You can then try and produce a new video C, that's even better than video A, or a different route to the page or different copy. So you're continually optimizing the process so you make sure you get the best possible response for the video that you've deployed. So that's the end of this section. Again, as I said, if you have any questions, please drop them into the question box and we'll try and get to them. If you need to contact us and you need to set up a meeting, please go to leadcubes.com/consult. and then we'll be able to set up a meeting. If you want to see the presenters' information and find out about each of the presenters, go to leadcubes.com/presenters. And we have actually some handouts and items that you might find useful, some papers on how the LeadCubes process works. That would be at leadcubes.com/handouts. So that's the end of this section. I'm now going to hand over to Kevin, who's going to deal with the question and answer session for the questions that you've put to us.
Thanks, Barry. We've had a few questions come along and we've managed to answer them as we progress, but two or three here. One which I'd like Barry to answer. What software would you recommend for use for analytics or measurement of the effectiveness of your videos?
Well, the favourite is obviously going to be Google Analytics. That represents about 30% of the market. There are others, but as soon as you start going further away from Google, you start having to pay about £5 to £10 a month to actually use the service. Some of them offer quite different services. So there's Alexa, again, with a similar market share. There's also another company called Compete that does analytics software as well, that allows you to actually look at the keywords of your competitors by reading your competitors' sites. So it really depends on what it is you're trying to do. The best place to start is with Google. And then when you find you want to do something slightly different, then look at some of the paid services.
Thanks, Barry. This one, I think maybe Karen, you can handle this one. The listeners asked, how many videos do I need?
Interesting question. Well, ideally, I suppose you only need one to get yourself going. And if it's an introducer video where you're, as we've been talking about today, where it's you talking about your business and the benefit that you can offer to people, then that one video is enough to make a difference. But ideally, you need to have a campaign because you might, if you're going to go through a squeeze page, you might want a bit of video on there to entice people in and start making the engagement with your viewers. And also, often these days, you get better results or good results from having a series of things where you're sharing information. So I suppose it depends on your budget. You need to set out a campaign and work out how much you can get into your marketing spend.
Okay, great. Now, great question here, which is how do I get my videos seen? Which I guess is how do I bring traffic or people to my video? And again, this is one that is very variable. It depends on your market you're in and the message you're trying to get over. But what we're really talking about is video SEO or search engine optimization and keywords or key phrases you want to target so you get found in the search engines. And that's a whole area of research, and I think that's one that we will consider for a follow-up webinar because it's quite a complex subject. But to précis it is that you put in the title and the description of your video, if you're using YouTube, the phrases that you want people to find you on, because YouTube is a search engine and it will find those key phrases. So in your title, if you want to get found on how to sell video, you include that in your title and in the first part of your description, and then you add extra phrases in there and extra description. I hope that covers that one. I think we're approaching the end now, so maybe I can invite Karen just to summarise what we've covered today.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. I hope you found the session interesting and useful. Now that you've seen how you could sell more stuff and generate more leads for your business using video, I suppose the big question is, what's next? Is there something else you need to know before you explore the use of video to improve your sales leads? Well, if there is, then get in touch so that we can include your input into future webinars. And also, if you want to get going on a campaign to sell more stuff with video, start things off by contacting the LeadCube presenters you heard from today. And we'll be happy to answer your questions and to talk you through the most appropriate solution for your business. In the meanwhile, once again, thank you for joining the webinar and enjoy the rest of your day.